What is up, RotoGrinders? Welcome to Crunch Time, sponsored by Fanduel. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich, joined by two of the sharpest minds in the biz. First up, I got Tim Buell, Tasteful Tides. Tim, how you doing this fine Saturday evening?
I'm doing well, TJ. Nice to see you and Bobby. Yeah, TJ, you've been on quite the heater. I hope you can, share some for the rest of us on tonight's slate. So I'm interested to hear what your takes are and Bobby's, of course.
Hopefully can keep it going tonight in the NBA. I'm dipping my toes into your NHL streets tonight as well. So got a few teams going. I got 15 going in NBA and then one in NHL. And basically my plan tonight for basketball is just to cut this slate in half, ignore two of the games, and go really overboard on the other two. Joined as well by Bobby Gomes, DFS. Bobby, how you doing?
Doing well. Excited to basically break down the slate with you guys. Yeah, TJ been on quite the heater. Interesting to see. I think, what do you have, 15 teams in the 444 paying up? It's a good boy. Smart move.
Yeah, for trying to
take that down tonight.
If we have one of the nights where it just like goes completely all wrong and lose all the entry fees, then I'll slow it down a little bit. But until we gotta try and ride the hot streak while it's there.
I can't believe you just hopped on a crunch time and you're maxing the 444 and you know what I mean, and playing NHL. You're flying there.
It's the benefits of ADHD where it's I can't help but keep my mind on 12 different things at once. And so DFS is one of the places as it gets close to lock when doing content that it actually maybe benefits me instead of hurts me a little bit. But we got Crunch Time sponsored by FanDuel today. Sign up for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Bet $5 in any money line. Get $150 in bonus bets if your team wins. For new users in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, and Wyoming. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. But let's dive into this slate. We got 4 games. Tim, do you want to give us a little breakdown here of the small little 4-game slate that has a surprising amount of injury news for the only being 4 games?
Yeah, I mean, early in the day, it looked like he was just going to be like get as much of the Atlanta Washington game as we possibly could. Then all of a sudden, we got some like big time Jazz news with Lauri Markkanen out, Jordan Clarkson out, so that brought the Jazz value guys into play. And then we got Zion Williamson ruled out. So Brandon Ingram is an amazing play on both sites. So it kind of spread ownership away a little bit from that Washington Atlanta game because, which is interesting because that Washington Atlanta game is by far the best game on the entire slate. Like one of the best possible matchups you could possibly get. Both top 3 in pace. They're both horrible defensive teams. So we've seen some ownership kind of get away from that game because of this Utah value and because of some of this Pelicans value. So I think that's, something to take note of. But yeah, there's plenty of different ways you can go about lineup construction this evening, and there's plenty of different value pieces you can fit in.
I couldn't agree more. And that's definitely one of the 2 games that I'm going to be loading up on, that and the New Orleans Pelicans Utah Jazz game. For me personally, the only player outside of those 2 games in my player pool, it's Richaun Holmes. Every other player in my player pool is from those 2 games. If you're watching us on YouTube, smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. It does wonders for us. The show is free, sponsored by FanDuel. We want to keep it that way, so make sure you keep hitting that like button for us. It really does so much. And we also got NFL content coming tomorrow. And if you're building lineups, the beta version of our new SimLabs NFL lineup building tool is here. Use SimLabs to generate DFS lineups through the power of simulation. Combines data from every aspect of the slate to turn out lineups that match your preferences. In just a few clicks, you can have hundreds of well-built correlated lineups ready to go for whatever contest type you're playing. Check out the link in our description for more info. Let's dive into it here. Let's start with cash games. We'll get Tim handling cash. We'll get Bobby handling tournaments. We'll start, of course, with FanDuel, our sponsor. Then we'll get DraftKings build. Then we'll do QQs going from the RotoGrinders Discord live stream chat first, and then to the YouTube chat second. And so make sure you're hitting the like button, get it way up there so we can get to YouTube for some QQs as well. Tim, we got 3 players tagged on FanDuel today: Brandon Ingram, James Harden, Taylor Horton-Tucker. Do you agree with those core plays? Anyone you'd potentially not feel like you're getting to in your cash game lineup? And then we'll start at the point guard position.
Yeah, no, I am playing all 3 of those guys in my cash game lineup. I just wanted to touch on something that you said real quick. You said that you're only playing guys from Utah, New Orleans, and Atlanta, Washington. Does that mean that you're fading James Harden in tournaments?
On DraftKings, yes, I am. He's a little bit cheaper there on FanDuel, so I don't mind getting to him there at all, especially in cash games, because he's going to have a lot of ownership. But picking up ownership,
Right.
and he's a bit more expensive on DraftKings. So yeah, I got 0%. Only one I got is Rashawn Holmes from that game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah. So James Harden definitely is the top cash game point guard. It is interesting because our 4 best points per dollar plays in RG projections are all point guard, shooting guard. So I just want to keep people in mind that you can play them either way, point guard or shooting guard. So Harden is number 1. I think Jordan Poole is viable in cash games. We love that game environment. Jordan Poole is finally getting the volume, he's finally shooting the ball, and he hasn't even particularly shot the ball that well. If he ends up shooting well, he's going to absolutely, blow that $6,600 price tag out of the water. So Jordan Poole is definitely cash game viable at $6,600. Utah's missing some pieces, so a guy like Keontae George, I think, is viable. And then I don't think we can pay up for Luka, or maybe we should, but I'm not paying up for Luka in cash. I'm paying up for Trae Young at 9,500 because I want to just get as much exposure to that game as possible.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. What about shooting guard position? Take me there.
Yeah, so not a whole lot of crossover except for 2 guys. Paul George being the first. The Clippers are far, far, far too cheap on FanDuel. So Paul George is shooting guard, small forward. Probably just because shooting guard, point guard is so deep, you probably should play Paul George at the small forward slot. But you could really play whatever you want. Same thing goes with Taylor Horton-Tucker. He's shooting guard, small forward. Again, he should probably go in your small forward spot. And then that's really the only things of note for shooting guard.
Small forward position.
Small forward's super easy. You have to play Brandon Ingram in cash games. He's only 8K on FanDuel. No Zion. This is a great, great, great spot for the Pelicans. So Ingram's the easy play. He's extremely high owned for tournaments, but we don't care about that in cash games. So you're 100% playing Brandon Ingram in cash. I think that you should be playing Taylor Horton-Tucker, and you should probably be playing him in the small forward position. So, he's another must for me. Jalen Johnson in that Atlanta-Washington game is a spectacular play. But he's kind of in a funny price point. So if you can't get up to him, it's really easy to go down to somebody like Taylor Horton-Tucker or Najee Marshall, something like that. But yeah, definitely Brandon Ingram's the small forward play.
How much would you prioritize? Donovan Mitchell ruled in.
And so is Avdia.
That was literally my question I was about to ask. If Avdia doesn't play, where would you put Koulibaly and Corey Kispert in terms of the cash game conversation? But now we don't have to worry about that as Avdia is in. Power forward.
Yeah, so this really depends on kind of what you're deciding to do with the rest of your lineup. I really like Kyle Kuzma But do I want to pay $8K for him? I'm kind of debating that as we speak. I'm really kind of up in the air. If you want, I mean, this is an unbelievable spot for Kyle Kuzma. It's really just that salary starting to creep up where it's a little bit expensive. You also have Kawhi right there at 8,200. If I had to pick between those two, I would pick Kuzma. If you need salary saving at the position, then it's Kelly Olynyk at 5,100. We have it projected for 24 minutes at 5,100. He can easily pay off that price tag. Denny Atvia, 5,900, and then Jalen Johnson. So we've got plays from that Atlanta-Washington game like all over the board, and power forward is definitely a spot where we can take advantage of that.
Finally, the center position. Are you plugging in Rashawn Holmes at 3.7K in your cash game?
So I'm actually not 100% sure yet. Certainly the math says that you should. It really I kind of want to play Walker Kessler in cash games at 5,500. I also wouldn't mind Daniel Gafford either. But yeah, the math would definitely say for you to play Rashawn Holmes in cash games. I'm not completely sold on that. Like there is never been a slate, I think, that has such little opportunity cost at center. Like center is like you don't have to worry about missing out on some huge game from Jokic or Embiid or anything like that. So getting to one of these mid-range guys might be what I do, or I might just eat the value and play Rashawn Holmes. I don't think he's a must. I don't think he's a must though. I really don't think he's a must play in cash on FanDuel.
The one thing I would say to people with Rashawn Holmes is we have him projected to start right now. I think there's a decent chance he doesn't. It could very easily be Dwight Powell. I don't really think it matters. I think Holmes probably ends up playing a bit more minutes anyways. He's by far the best by far the better point per dollar play between him and Dwight Powell. So if that does happen, don't feel like you need to panic and get Powell in instead. I still think the play is Rashawn Holmes over Dwight Powell if those are the two you're choosing between. Bobby, taking me back to the point guard position, who are you liking today as some tournament pivots? I like Trae Young is my guy today here at point guard. That's somebody I want to get as much of as possible. I think I got like 80%.
Yeah, so for me, I think Trae Young makes a ton of sense. Cash tournaments, we have him 26% in our optimal percentage, which I think is one of the highest on the slate behind the two main cash game guys in terms of James Harden and Jordan Poole. I really like the pivot to Young. Luka, we have him at 18%, highest ceiling on the slate. Value's tough, but 11-9, it is Luka Doncic, right? Just throwing it out there as someone who I think you can obviously always get to. Darius Garland, I liked Mitchell previously. I think I would prefer Mitchell over Garland, but I think both are in play in tournaments. Kyrie at 8-4. I think he's definitely in play at the point guard position. Tyus Jones, it was probably one of the stronger plays I had last night. I think it had more to do with Coulibaly being out, and now Coulibaly's in. So I wonder, like, how we've kind of wanted them to play Tyus Jones all season, the Wizards. And he hasn't really got consistent minutes. I'm interested to see like how they play him tonight. I would throw him in tournament pools with Coulibaly back. Hopefully they just continue with him and keep going to the hot hand. So yeah, that's pretty much point guard. Obviously, you could play Poole or Harden. DeJounte Murray's in the mix, but those are like the main guys.
I like the DeJounte Murray call. That's somebody I'm quite overweight on as well. As we pivot to shooting guard here, we did have a question about a shooting guard I'm quite interested in, but I'm not going to do something where I say, hey, we need X amount of likes before we take YouTube QQs. Won't do that today. But hit that damn like button, guys. It's free. It's easy to do. You got to slide your finger over. You're watching on your phone. Click hide chat, then hit that like button. There's almost 300 people watching right now. We got to get these likes way up. But a player that I'm heavily overweight on today that I love as a salary saver is Colin Sexton at that shooting guard position. Who do you like at shooting guard today in tournaments? And are you getting any Sexton too?
Yeah, I think Sexton's a very strong call. Just from our optimal percentage, Paul George seems like the main guy at shooting guard, but like we said, you could play him at small forward in cash. Jordan Poole, Harden. Shooting guard's not too deep for me. I think you could throw Austin Reeves in the mix. Herb Jones probably gets a bump with Zion out, so I think he's fine. Kyrie, obviously, at 8.4. I like that price. But literally, like, there's not much from the shooting guard position. Bogdanovich is small forward shooting guard eligible on FanDuel. Keontae George is there. THT is going to be a mainstay in cash. But yeah, that's pretty much where I'd be going at the shooting guard position. I think the most interesting pay up spot in terms of optimal percentage and ownership, I think, is your guy DeJounte Murray at 8.1. How do you feel about that? You just basically insinuated you liked it a good bit, right?
Yeah, I'm probably about double the field on DeJounte today. I would like him even more if the ownership difference between him and Trey was projected for a bit of a bigger difference. But I honestly think it still probably will be. I don't honestly see DeJounte Murray being 15, 20% owned today. I think he's probably going to be closer to 10, whatever it is, even on a small slate. People just don't like playing him. So I absolutely love him for tournaments today. His median projection is never that great, but we always know he has a ceiling.
Yeah, I have another question. I have a question about another Hawk. What's your interest in Bogdan? Because I think he's pretty strong for tournaments. He's going to be lower owned, fast-paced game. It kind of fits his game. 11% to be optimal on FanDuel. What are your thoughts? Would you play a max 2 of 3 of Bogdan, Trey, and DeJounte, or how would you approach that?
So that's actually, I included that exact group, and I did minimum one, maximum 2 of DeJounte, Bogdan, and Trey Young in every single one of my lineups today. I can't really see a world where against Washington, one of them doesn't explode. But I also I don't think all 3 will, just because all of them are ball handlers. If it's Bogdanovich, it's probably because they blew Washington out. Or just like got a bit more ahead, and so we picked up a couple more minutes. So I got 1 to 2 of them, but I want to make sure I have at least one of the Atlanta ball handlers in every single lineup.
Yeah, did you already touch on Sadiq Bey? Because I think he's super interesting for tournaments.
Not yet, but he is small forward eligibility. So as we pivot here to small forward, I actually wrote him up in my FanDuel and DraftKings tournament play article today as one of my favorite tournament sleepers. Love that Sadiq Bey called him at the small forward position. On DraftKings, he's picking up a bit more ownership, but on FanDuel, because he's 5,200 instead of 47, which is still cheap, I think he's an absolutely fantastic tournament play.
Yeah, I think Bay's a very strong play as well. The small forward position on FanDuel, it's pretty much loaded. Like Brandon Ingram, obviously, he's going to be probably the best play of the slate with Zion out, but you can get away from him. Like we said, it's a very strong position. You have LeBron right there, 16% to be optimal. Paul George, Kawhi. Throw Kyle Kuzma in the mix at 8K, Jalen Johnson, Austin Reeves again, Herb Jones. There's guys there that you can use to get different. I think Bogdanovich you can use him at small forward as well. THT is going to be someone who's super chalky. I usually try to stay away from chalk THT when I can. And I think a good pivot, like Tim mentioned, would be a guy like Bey going from Taylor Horton Tucker to Sadiq Bey in tournaments on FanDuel. I think that makes a good bit of sense. Koulibaly's back in our lives if you're looking for something cheap as well at 4.8, more of a larger field tournament situation. Actually, I think you'd play him regardless. I still think he gets minutes. We're showing 14% ownership. Yeah, I like Koulibaly. Small forwards, very strong position on FanDuel. Yeah, I would say for me, my favorite at small forward would probably be Brandon Ingram. If you want to make a tournament pivot, you have the 2 Clippers guys there in George and Kawhi. I think that would be the best way to kind of approach it. Power forward, Anthony Davis, 18% to be optimal. I love AD on this slate. What do we have for showing 14% ownership? I'd prefer 18 to AD to LeBron. Kyle Kuzma's, I think, a very strong play at the small forward position. I liked Evan Mobley more if Mitchell was out, but I still think he's fine. Jalen Johnson in that pace-up spot for Atlanta is a good play. Denny, 5'9". Denny might get lost in – actually, we're showing – what are we showing for ownership on Denny? 17%. I know he's just ruled in, right? So, yeah, I don't mind him. John Collins at 14%, I think is fine as well. That's pretty much it. A power forward. I do like getting up to one of AD or LeBron. My favorite play prior to the Mitchell being ruled in. I liked Mobley a good bit. Center position. Valanciunas, like he's going to see an uptick with Zion out. Don't mind him. Think he's fine. Onyeka Okongwu. He's someone I think in tournaments you could get to. Obviously, Rashawn Holmes is going to be the guy that everyone's trying to go to on the low end. Daniel Tice, what did he see for minutes last night? Like, I know his minutes had ticked up. I don't think anyone's really going to go there at all, but in larger field stuff, I wouldn't mind chasing the first 2 games. If you have any thoughts on Daniel Tice, TJ, it's just not.
He's gotten 20 minutes, 3 straight games. He's got 21, 20, 20.
I think he's viable as a pivot off of Rashawn Holmes and on DraftKings, but I don't think I'd want to use him at 4,900 on Fanduel. I think the power forward eligibility is nice, but just a bit too much, I think. I like a few guys around him a little bit more. Like, I'd rather get up to Olenek or Okongwu at the power forward position. I think I'd rather play DeAndre Hunter. And so on DraftKings, where he's still below 4K, though, I think he's fully viable.
Yeah. No, that's good to know. Walker Kessler, Tim hit on it. Like, if you're just playing the mid range, I think with all those guys out for Utah, I think he's fine at 5.5. That's it. Like Capella at 6.3. I think he's someone you could consider as well at the center position. From there, like, I think my favorite center might be Valanciunas. Valanciunas at 7.1, I think is very interesting. 13% to be optimal, 15% ownership. I guess you can make the case for Capella right below him. 9% ownership. We have him currently 9% to be optimal. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much FanDuel for tournaments.
I absolutely love the JV call. That's the other guy I wrote up as a sleeper today in my article. JV and Bay, I'm happy you guys brought both of them up because those are 2 of my favorite tournament plays on the slate. I'm heavily overweight on both. We'll have to go through DraftKings just a little bit quicker than we did FanDuel. We got 17 minutes left to lock. I mean, no, it's 4 games. There's not going to be all that many QQs. We got lots of time to rip through it here. We got Brandon Ingram, Talen Horton-Tucker, Colin Sexton, and Rashawn Holmes tagged on DraftKings. 4 core plays here, making your job nice and easy, Tim. Let's still start at the point guard position because obviously we have the guards and the forwards to go through, but going to be probably with 4 core plays from Noto. Pretty easy job with cash games today.
Yeah, I think if it was me making the core plays, I would have included Trae Young at point guard at 9,500. He's 100% going to be in my cash game team. He's going to be my single entry team. There's enough value where you can pretty easily play him. So he would be a core cash game play for me, but all the other ones I completely agree with. And then, so Colin Sexton would be my next favorite point guard. James Harden, I think, is fine at 8K. He's a better play on FanDuel, like TJ mentioned, but 8K, I think he still has, definitely has a ceiling and a really solid floor. Keontae George, kind of a funny price, but I think he's also viable for cash. Moving over to shooting guard, it's Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, shooting guard on DraftKings, small forward on FanDuel. You are 100% playing him in cash games. Talen Horton-Tucker is a viable shooting guard, but you should probably play him at your small forward. And then that way you can play Colin Sexton at your shooting guard. I think that's pretty much it for shooting guard. Small forward is Horton-Tucker first for me. Fontecchio, he's 3,100. I would probably just reserve him for GPPs. Same thing for Ochai. I think he's just a GPP play also, but at least Ochai is going to play 28 minutes, so maybe you could get away with playing him in cash. He's 3,800. He's small forward, power forward. If you don't play him in cash, I think he makes for a spectacular GPP play. Power forward is it's probably going to be Najee Marshall for me at 4,700. Jalen Johnson at 6,700, I think, is a spectacular play. Kuzma is that same kind of price as he is on FanDuel. I think he's a fringe cash game play. I wouldn't think it's horrible if you played him in cash. Sadiq Bey rates out very well at 4,700. I think you could play him in cash games. And then center is where I am more likely to play Rashawn Holmes, I believe, as my cash game center, even though I'm kind of thinking I might play Kelly Olynyk because he's only center eligible on DK at 4,900.
Makes sense. Going back to the point guard position here, who you like in today in tournaments, Bobby?
Yeah, Trae Young. Think he's a fantastic play. You guys kind of both hit on it in terms of the game environment. Once again, Luka, like you can always pay up for Luka. I feel like at 11-7, what are we showing for Luka's ownership? Like 17%. 17% to Trae Young's 26. Those would probably be my two favorite pay-ups, I would say, at the point guard position. Then Colin Sexton, Keontae George, I think are two guys for Utah in tournaments that you can use as well, but they're also going to be cash game viable. My big interest, like I had interest in Tyus. I would run Tyus out another night in a row for tournaments. I think he's pretty interesting. Overall, I think that would probably round it out for me from the point guard position. Like obviously you can play Poole, Harden. Like these guys are going to pop. They're all good plays. Irving is someone that you can throw in the mix there. But that's mainly point guard from a tournament perspective. Like there's cash game crossover. Obviously it's NBA, but those are my favorite plays.
And shooting guard. Feel free to just there's so many on DraftKings. There's so many players with these multi-position eligibilities. Feel free to kind of just dip back and forth going through your favorite plays here for tournaments in general.
Yeah. So everyone's been trying to make Jordan Poole work. I think he's definitely in play for tournaments. Brandon Ingram's the strongest play, in my opinion, with Zion out. But you can always kind of poke holes in Brandon Ingram. So something to be wary of. I think there's a couple plays on that team, guys like when we get to the small forward position that we can kind of talk about. And another guy at the shooting guard position for the Pelicans that I think is interesting, and Jordan Hawkins would be the pay down from Ingram on the Pelicans, I would say. James Harden, Austin Reeves, Sexton has shooting guard eligibility. Like these are the main guys that I'm playing in tournaments. Bogdanovich is in the mix. Once again, you can go to Kyrie with point guard, shooting guard. Those are the main specific tournament plays. Our highest optimal percentage is Ingram. Reeves, we have a 27% in 6K. Then Horton Tucker, a 27%. Poole, a 26%. Paul George and Harden, and that's also in the rate of in terms of like highest ceiling as well. So that's what I ended up filtering it by. I filtered it by Donovan Mitchell and Kyrie are in play as well. I feel like I just named everyone on the 4-game slate. Small forward LeBron, Paul George, Austin Reeves, Bogdanovich, THT. Always trying to find ways off of THT. Don't mind paying up $900 for Denny. Herb Jones in the mix as a $1,200 spend up off THT. I would have liked Strus if Mitchell was out. Strus has just been playing fantastic of late. Dyson Daniels has point guard and small forward eligibility. I think he gets lost in translation a little bit. What are we showing for ownership for him? Like at 12%.
12%. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good number. So I wouldn't mind him. Agbaji, you guys kind of hit on him. He's fine. Koulibaly's fine. Hunter's fine.
I think we can't sleep on Kispert too, because he's like yes, Koulibaly is back, but Danilo Gallinari is out for this one. So if it stays close, he's probably due for mid-20s minutes. If it turns into a blowout, this could probably push to 30. So I think we got to keep Denny Avdia in mind for tournaments as well. Power forward position. Who do you like here? How are you prioritizing this 4,700? This is one thing I was caught on a lot. Who do you prioritize between Najee Marshall and Sadiq Bey?
Yeah, I think I would lean Marshall, but the way Tim kind of talked about Sadiq Bey, I always consider Tim's point of view, talk about the game environment. I'm currently taking the stance of Marshall, but obviously I think you could definitely play Bey as well. I think Herb Jones is in the mix. I think my favorite power forward would be Kyle Kuzma. Jalen Johnson is someone else in that pace-up game for the Hawks. When everyone's kind of going to Trey, DeJounte Murray, Bogdanovich, I think Jalen will still probably see good ownership, but I still like him as a play overall. What do we have for Jalen Johnson for ownership? Just want to check real quick.
21% on DraftKings.
21%, yeah. So he's going to be chalky regardless. Yeah, that's pretty much it. John Collins would be another tournament play at the power forward position. Now that you have all the Utah value opened up, so yeah, it's pretty much power forward. What'd you say?
I was going to say, and then finally center.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dogs are going crazy beside me.
All good. Jonas Valanciunas, favorite center tournament play on both sites. Daniel Gafford, think he's fine. Rashawn Holmes is going to be the chalk across both sites. Obviously, you can play him in tournaments. I think Daniel Tice is a pretty good pivot off of him. We've seen him play 20 minutes, like Tim said, in the first 3 games. Also running a ton of pick and roll with Westbrook. So I don't mind Tice. Anthony Davis is a spend up I really like on DraftKings. I want to see what we have for his optimal percentage. Yeah, he's 11% to be optimal for Davis. Currently showing 12% ownership. Yeah, I like Davis as a play a good bit for tournaments. I know it's not, you're losing a little bit of leverage, but I still think he's fine. Onyeka and Kongwu and Larry Nance would be the 2 others that you can kind of throw in there at the center position. Hawks are I would play max one of Okongwu and Capella. Larry Nance, I would probably play max 1 of him and Valanciunas. Just thinking through it. Does that work for you, TJ?
Yeah, I am doing something very similar today. I had Nance in my pool, but then I didn't end up landing on him. That was the one player when I was running optimizers and adjusting things from my pool that I didn't actually get to, but I did set the same rules when I was building there as well. We got 7 minutes to lineup block. Make sure you get your lineups in. Hit that like button, subscribe. Starting to take some QQs now. Bobby, this one's for you. In a FanDuel single entry, who is your favorite spend up on the slate?
Yeah, one sec. Let me switch back to FanDuel. Favorite spend on the slate, Anthony Davis. I'm going to go.
I like it. Tim, FanDuel cash, Norm Powell or Colin Sexton?
Definitely Sexton.
FanDuel single entry. Who is AR15? Who is that? I don't know NBA numbers off the top of my head. All right, going to the next one. FanDuel single entry, Jalen Johnson or Jarrett Allen? I already have 2 Hawks, Bobby.
Yeah, I would probably go Allen in that situation.
Olenek and Olenek and Paul George, or Harden and Jalen Johnson in FanDuel cash? Tim.
Can you repeat that real quick? Sorry.
Apparently I don't watch enough Lakers basketball because AR15 is Austin Reeves. I did not realize that. Thank you for filling me in, chat, because I couldn't have told you Austin Reeves' number. It was FanDuel cash, Tim. Olenek and Paul George, or Harden and Jalen Johnson?
Harden, Jalen Johnson.
So on that note, Austin Reeves in a FanDuel single entry, Bobby.
Austin Reeves, FanDuel single entry. I think he's fine. What's the question? He's fine.
Yeah, can you play him? Can you play him, basically?
You can play him.
DK cashed him. I'm getting Fontecchio and Yurt 7 is in my cash lineup. Is that okay? No, I don't think so.
Not okay. I wouldn't. I mean, maybe I'd play Fontecchio. I would not play Yurtseven, but definitely don't play both.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that one. I don't have Yurt 7 in my pool. I'm just getting to a little bit of Fontecchio. I'm going to go, where do I want to pick up here on the YouTube chat? I see you've been answering some questions in here as well, Tim. FanDuel cash, Paul George and Sexton, or Kawhi Leonard and THT, Tim?
The first one.
FanDuel GPP, Bobby, you like Hunter or Sadiq Bey?
Bey. Definitely Bey.
DK GPP, Bobby, Tyus Jones and Kawhi Leonard, or Denny Avdia and Brandon Ingram?
Avdia and Ingram. I want to see what I'm going to let the Tyus Jones situation play out. So I would go 2.
QQ, why is Yurt 7 popping so much? Is he popping that much?
Well, he's popping. So he's our top points per dollar player if you rate by points per dollar on DK. But it's not like he's only projected for 17 raw points and projected for 16 minutes. So it's like, there's so many better setter plays. Like, I don't really care that he's popping, and it's not a guarantee he even plays 16 minutes. So I don't know. Like, I would ignore that and not worry about it too much. I don't think he has much of a ceiling, so I don't think I have to worry about it in tournaments either.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I'm getting a no Yurt 7 at all. Don't sleep on Zubats against Dallas. I am sleeping on Zubats against Dallas. I'm sorry. I'm sleeping. I'm snoring. Do you guys like Tayshaun Prince? Nope. Do you like Torian Prince? No, don't like Torian Prince. Too low.
I think he's fine. Yeah, I think he's fine. He's
kind of
fine.
Sits there. He doesn't really do anything.
No, I get what you're saying. It wouldn't be my favorite play, but I don't know.
Any love for Landry Shamet in a GPP, either of you?
Not for me.
I'd be okay with it as the last piece, but again, not a guy that I think is going to play like a ton. So
Larry Nance or Landry Shamet as a last piece?
Oh, I'd go Larry Nance.
I'd go Nance too.
I would also go Nance of those two, but I would go Fontecchio over both of them if you don't have him in your lineup yet. THT or Sadiq Bey, Bobby?
Sadiq Bey. So
Joe
THT is like going to project better everywhere, but I like Bey. I think Bey is very good. Sharp tournament.
I'm with you there as well. Joe Val on DKGPP. Bobby and I both love him. I wrote him up today, but he was one of Bobby's favorite tournament plays as well. So hammer Joe Val and GPPs. We are 1 minute away from lock. Make sure you get your lineups in. How important is John and Collins for Utah? I mean, I don't know. It depends who you ask. I'm sure he's pretty important to some people. Maybe other people don't like him that much. I don't think he's overly important from a DFS perspective today, just a interesting tournament play. Real AR-15 is Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson. Thoughts on Jarrett Allen today in tournaments, Bobby?
He's fine. I would have liked all those Cleveland guys better if Mitchell had sat.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. We got you covered for NBA with Crunch Time today. We also got lots and lots of NFL content coming tomorrow. The People's Show, Grinders Live in the morning. Dean will be hosting these two men right here, Tim Buell and Bobby Gomes on Grinders Live. Then you got the GPP Final Take Show with Eric and Squirrel, followed by the Crunch Time crew. And then Chief, who I see hanging out in chat, will be back with me in the evening on the Pre-Lock Show. We've been given some fantastic plays on that one, so make sure you tune in. And then we got an NBA Crunch Time show as well coming I believe, Tim, it's you and I for that one. So lots of content continuing to come for DFS, for Pick'em, for props. And you can check out the brand new props and Pick'em package at a limited time discount. The experts at the RotoGrinders projection team take our premium stats and comb through the market for any inefficiencies. Through mid-November in NBA, NFL, and NHL, we're up 38 units on expert picks. Using our model, you can easily see which lines are off, where to find them, how likely the prop will hit based on our tool. Check out the link in our description for more info. We have nailed all the QQs. We have hit lock. We all got NFL lineups to build. Tim, Bobby, do you got anything for the people before we get out of here?
No, make sure you guys tune in to the People Show tomorrow. We'll have some.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll be bringing you the winners. Yeah, I'm locked in for this Sunday. Locked in.
My dad is trying to learn DFS, and and I'm not on a show tomorrow, just for mainly just for NFL to start. But he just figured I'm doing this. He's watching all these games anyways all day. He wants to make it a little bit more fun. And so since I'm not on an NFL show tomorrow morning, we're going to put the 3 shows back to back. He's coming over in the morning. We're going to watch you guys on Grinders Live, then the GPP final takes, then crunch time, throw it all up on the big screen TV. And we're going to talk through the slates and watch you guys. So it's going to be a good Sunday morning. On behalf of Bobby, on behalf of Tim and myself, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. See you tomorrow morning. Hit the like button on the way out. You have been crunched.